Jack wasn't overly shy. He just needed a chance. One chance to finally say hello. To break the ice. To build his confidence. He pulled his last pack of Garbage Pail Kids from his left pocket, carefully peeled off the wrapper, removed the flat, pink, powdery hardened gum, tapped it against his leg and crunched it as he placed it on the left side of his mouth. The thought of finally working up the courage to approach her made him nervous. Sarah was only in 2 of his classes, and she was popular. His fantasies would run wild when his biology teacher talked about dissecting a frog, or when his math teacher talked about polynomials or finding the value of x. It was during these times that his mind would wander to what he would call our time together. After a few days of subtle inquiry, he found out where she lived. He planned to follow her home, just this once, he told himself. What could go wrong? He decided that today, Thursday, would be best. Mr. Bloom's chemistry class was the last one they had together. It was almost 3 p.m. Jack sat only 8 seats away from Sarah, the distance of a long jump. He loved being close. Mr. Bloom's fingernails were always dirty, and Jack wondered why. No one knew that Mr. Bloom had a shed in the back of his house that was just as dirty, or dirtier. It was the only place he didn't have to smile, the only corner of the world where he could hide away from prying eyes. Mr. Bloom couldn't remove the dirt, no matter how hard he tried. Everyone thought it was a chemical accident, but Mr. Bloom didn't have accidents. He had a purpose. The bell rang and Jack's stomach curled into a ball. He felt like emptying his bowels. The tension was sublime. Sarah stood up and gathered her things, pulling her long black hair out of her jacket. Jack thought how wonderful she would smell. Strawberries, cotton candy, Garbage Pail Kids gum. There was no turning back now. He followed her at a careful distance. The October breeze grew colder. Jack couldn't remember the last time fall had been this cool. He clenched his fists in his coat pockets, not so much to keep them warm, but to control his nerves. Sarah walked with short, quick strides. They were the only ones on the block now, and she hadn't noticed him. The leaves that hadn't fallen sounded like fragile shells hanging in the wind. Many colored the front lawns where they were piled, some scattered in the breeze, dancing uncontrollably, running away from these streets, these happy sidewalks that turned black when the sun went down. They were only a few houses away now. Sarah's was the same as all the others in Mistport. Jack noticed a soft glow from the living room lamp. The blinds were up, and he could see inside from across the street, hiding behind an elm tree. Jack saw a man, who he assumed was Sarah's father, sitting with a book in his hand, concentrating on the pages. She walked to the front door, grabbed her keys and entered. The door closed behind her. The man didn't look up, didn't move, and continued to read his book intently. He seemed frozen in time, like a wax figure. It was as if someone had placed him in that position a long time ago. "Hi, Dad," Sarah said as she wiped her feet on the pea-green mat at the front of the door. Silence. The man didn't move or say a word. She waited for an answer. "Dad?" Sarah stood there for a few more seconds, but no answer came, his head buried in the pages of the book. Jack could see nothing but Sarah standing there and the man not moving. After a few more seconds, she was out of Jack's sight. Jack quickly made his way to the back of the house where Sarah's room was. His heart pounded, and he looked around nervously to see if anyone else was on the street. He was alone. He walked more slowly now, trying not to make a sound, avoiding the brittle leaves under his feet, almost tiptoeing. The bedroom light was on. He peered cautiously through the window. His heart leapt to his throat, his head pounding. Sarah was in the room, her back to the window. Jack noticed something wrong with the room. It was too plain. There were no Michael Jackson posters, no Cyndi Lauper, Tiffany, or Exposé pictures pinned to the walls, no dolls or stuffed animals. What teenager didn't have at least one poster of their favorite band in their room? Jack's room was filled with Whitesnake, Led Zeppelin, and Rush posters. He even had a Stratocaster hanging on one of the walls. He did know how to play the guitar, but he thought it looked cool. It was the perfect conversation piece. Except there was never anyone to talk to. He got the Fender from his grandfather, who used to play in a blues band. Cirrhosis took his life 3 years ago. Grandpa was a slave to the bottle, and Jack could never understand why. He once snuck a drink of bourbon from his mother's bar and nearly passed out. The burning sensation as the liquid made its way down his throat was unforgettable. Jack swore off alcohol after that. "That was Pa's. Now it's yours," his mother said with heavy bags under her eyes the day after the funeral. "I don't know how to play," he replied, looking into her pale blue eyes. "What should I do with it?" "Keep it, learn to play it, throw it away, sell it. It's up to you. But he always talked about you having it." Her voice was tired. She was tired. Sometimes Jack felt sorry for his mother. He didn't know how to approach her. She was hard to talk to. But it was better now that Jack was older. He could take care of himself. He refused to be a burden to her. Something was eating away at her, and Jack had no idea what it was, and never dared to ask. "I'll keep it, I guess," he said, looking at the worn strings and dirty fretboard. "Fine." She turned and closed the door behind her, out into a world she only knew, and where others dared not go. Sarah was sitting in front of her mirror. She didn't move for a few minutes, then she pulled her hair off. Jack wasn't sure what he saw. Sarah removed the wig, revealing a completely bald head with pale yellowish skin and dark spots that looked like bruises scattered across the top of her scalp. There were cuts, like ulcers above her ears. Jack swallowed hard, his breathing labored. Sarah began to undress, and he wanted to look away, run away, but he was frozen, transfixed by what he saw. Sarah took off her sweater, her bra white pink. Under different circumstances, this would have been everything Jack had ever dreamed of, but horror overcame him. Her back looked old, her ribs and spine creating a grotesque relief on the skin that didn't belong to a beautiful 18-year-old teenager. Some areas pulsed. She stood and began to expand, to grow taller, her legs stretching as her head almost touched the ceiling. Her elongated arms dangled as her nails scraped the floor. Jack closed his eyes tightly. He hoped this wasn't real. When he opened them, the room was empty. He made his way back to the front of the house. The lamp that was on in the living room was off now. The house was dark. He turned and ran as fast as he could and didn't look back.